Today we will be starting with class 9th biology chapter 1, the fundamental unit of life. Now this chapter starts with the discovery of cell in the year 1665 done by Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke observed a cork. Cork is a substance which comes from the bark of a tree. So in the cork he observed that there were structures of a honeycomb that consisted of many little compartments. So he thought of naming these compartments, so he named them cells, which is the Latin word for little room. Okay. So now we move forward towards the discovery of cells. So the discovery of cell started in the year 1665 when Robert Hooke, with the help of a primitive microscope, so at that time advanced microscope was not even available, so he observed the cork slice. Then comes 1674 and in 1674 Anton van Leeuwenhoek, with the help of an improved microscope, he first time discovered the free living cells in the pond water. Then comes 1831 and Robert Brown, he discovered the nucleus of the cell. Then comes Purkinje in 1839, and he told the word protoplast from the fluid substance of the cell. Now comes the cell theory, which was given by two scientists, Sleeden and Schwann. So the cell theory explained that all cells arise from pre-existing cells, that is omnicellular, acellular. So now we will learn about various types of organisms. So the organisms can be classified into two types on the basis of number of cells. So unicellular and multicellular. For example, amoeba, multicellular, we can have onion peel, human cells, muscle cells, any type of cell, etc. So in the unicellular organism, they constitute of only single cell, and that single cell performs all the functioning of the organism, whereas in multicellular organism we have different varieties of cells which are specialized in the function they perform. So of course there is so now let's read. The shape and size of the cell are related to the specific function they perform. Some cells like amoeba have changing shapes. In some cases the cell shape could be more or less fixed or peculiar for a particular type of cell. So now it tells us about the shape and size of the cell. So the shape and size of the cell can vary. For example, in amoeba we all know that amoeba does not contain any shape, so that's why then we have the example of nerve cell. they have a typical shape. So so now it gives us information about the division of labor in multicellular organisms. Like we have a heart to pump blood, a stomach to digest food. Similarly, division of labor is also seen within each cell. So now we thought of we learned of different type of cells, whether it's an organism in multicellular or unicellular, right? So now we will learn about the constituents of cells. So the constituents of cells are called the organelles, cell organelles of a cell. So now I'm going to tell you one thing. Cell is the structural, fundamental and functional unit of life. From structural, we mean that the cell is the building block of the organism. From fundamental, we mean that it is from single cell all the cell arise, and from functional, we mean that all activities takes place inside cell. So right now we will learn about the organization of a cell. Now if we look on to the very basic constituents of the cell, so every cell will contain a plasma membrane, a nucleus and a cytoplasm. The other cell organelles which we will be studying can vary from cell to cell. So we will learn about two types of cell, that is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So the cell organelles will vary, but this is a fundamental thing that is commonly present in most of the type of cell. So now let's learn about plasma or cell membrane. So plasma or cell membrane is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the contents of the cell from its external environment, right? So the plasma membrane, it is the outermost covering of the cell. Like we have a cell, in an animal cell we only have plasma membrane, whereas plant cell we have a cell. So generally it is the outermost covering. Now this membrane is a semi-permeable membrane, and it allows only entry and exit of some specific organism. So right, so now we have been given some organisms, like some substances like carbon dioxide, oxygen. Now this semi-plasma membrane plays a very important role in diffusion in the cell. Now let's understand what is diffusion. Diffusion is the spontaneous movement of a substance from a region of high concentration to a region where concentration is low. Means in diffusion we learn that if something is present in high quantity in some place, and if it is present in low quantity in some place, to establish equilibrium, the substance moves from one place to another, right? So one region to another, right? So sometimes So this may get in like CO2 quantity is high inside the cell, whereas in the outer environment the CO2 quantity is less. So we will have a diffusion gradient like this. Okay. So uh, CO2 of course is a cellular base and it need to be excreted by the cell. So yes, now we learn about now CO2 is done. Similarly, in the cell we will learn that we have a mitochondria that produces energy and is also responsible for respiration. So it will obviously need oxygen. So then we have an oxygen gradient from outside to inside. So so now we'll learn about a special kind of diffusion, that is osmosis. So osmosis is the passage of water from a region of high water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane to a low water concentration till equilibrium is reached. So osmosis we can perform it like this. So we have something which has more water concentration and we have a region where the water concentration is less. So water moves from high concentration to low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane until the equilibrium is reached. So right. So we have three types of osmosis. Endoosmosis. We have two types of then we have exoosmosis. So right, endoosmosis occurs in hypotonic solution and exoosmosis occurs in hypertonic. So hypotonic solution is that we have a medium in which a cell is kept. So the concentration of water outside cell is less where as compared to inside. So water will move and the cell will swell up. So equilibrium is reached. Now we have second case of isotonic, in which the water concentration in the medium is equal to the water concentration in the cell. So no net movement. Water moves in both directions but no net movement. In this also water moves in both directions, but more water comes into the cell than going outside. Then we have third case, that is hypertonic. And then this is high, this is low, so cell will shrink like this. Okay. So right, so plasma membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. And synthesis of plasma membrane is done by endoplasmic reticulum, which we'll be reading in the unit of endoplasmic reticulum. So unicellular organisms also tend to gain water through osmosis. Absorption of water by roots is also an example of osmosis. Diffusion is important in exchange of gases, and so flexibility of the, then we have endocytosis, right? So this is the flexibility of cell membrane, so that it enables the cell to engulf in food material and other materials from external environment, and this process is known as endocytosis. So we have been given the example of amoeba that that acquire it acquires its food from this process.